Good morning. It's Miss Kendra with your Mindful Monday message, and it is Monday, June 1st, a whole new month, and really kind of coming close to the end of the school year, and this is a difficult time for all of us, but recently made more difficult by some of our social issues happening in our country right now. And so that's what I want to do our practice about today, is looking at the differences between us and how we can work to heal the ways that we hurt each other because of our differences. Really talking about racism. And I read something this morning that I thought was so accurate, and it was, this woman wrote that racism is a heart disease and that it is curable. And that gives me hope to consider that it is something that hurts all of us deeply, but it's also something that we can work on and change. It's fear-based, it's really uncomfortable, it causes a lot of tension. But I think that if we approach this in the right way, it can also be really healing, and we can reach a level of greater racial harmony. You know, a lot of us want to say that we're colorblind, but other than small children, that's really not usually true, even though maybe we would like to be. So today our practice is about learning about people before we judge them. So sit comfortably with your feet on the floor, your eyes closed, and we'll take 3 long deep breaths together. Breathing in deeply and out. Deep breath in and out. One more. So you feel your muscles relax, your heart rate, and your breathing slow, and you say to yourself, I am calm and relaxed. You're home laying in bed. You put the book that you're reading on the nightstand, and you reach up and turn off the lamp. Fluff your pillow, get your covers just the way you like them. Feel your heart rate slow, your breathing slow as you become more and more relaxed. You listen to the complete quiet in your bedroom. You notice a faint sound coming from far away. You concentrate on the sound. It kind of seems like music, but it's an instrument that you've never heard before. The music starts low and then goes higher. Each beautiful note seems to come from a different instrument. You decide to find the source of this wonderful noise. Put on your clothes, grab a flashlight, and begin to explore. The night is still. Even the crickets must be listening. A warm fog covers the earth. The beam from your flashlight seems to pull you along. You notice some very strange footsteps. Each track is a different size and shape, and all have a flower growing in the middle of the footstep. A trail of glitter winds around the tracks and lights up when the flashlight shines on it. The musical sound is getting louder. The crickets and owls now seem to be singing along. You lean against a tree and listen to this beautiful music. The music relaxes you and gives you a peaceful feeling, and you feel yourself beginning to doze off. Then you kind of start to awaken, and you look up through the fog, and you see before you an alien who has been making the music. At first you're afraid, but something inside you says to walk closer to the creature. The alien is very different looking, with many tiny odd-shaped feet. The feet not touching the ground or playing strange musical instruments. You're curious and not afraid. The alien is covered with black scales and has a long tail with a golden glitter at the tip. His face is full of bumpy red spots. He reaches out and gives you one of his instruments, and you begin to play it. Soon you become very good friends. You talk all night long, and you learn all about each other. He teaches you many things about his planet. Breathing slowly, look at this creature in his 8 eyes and repeat to yourself 3 times. I learn about people before I judge them. I learn about people before I judge them. I learn about people before I judge them. So you just had a very exciting dream. But the lesson you learn is that you learn not to judge people on how they look, because who knows? They could become your very best friend. In fact, your friendship could be out of this world. Now take a deep breath, return to your room, open your eyes and take a stretch, and take a few moments to appreciate the good feelings that come with relaxation. So I'd like you to think about this for a second, and then I have a book to share. Have you ever been misjudged by someone? Has anyone ever looked at you and thought you were a certain way when in fact maybe that's not true about you at all? What are some of the ways that maybe we misjudge others? Do we do that based on skin color, or where someone lives, or a person's faith, whether a person is more like us or more different than us? And what does it mean when they say you can't judge a book by its cover, or beauty is only skin deep? I think quotes like that can be helpful because they force us to consider how we make those initial judgments about others. That if it's just on what's on the outside, that we're only seeing this tiny, tiny little part of who they are, just that little tip of the iceberg. So I have one of my favorite books to share with you. It's called The Other Side by Jacqueline Woodson. Probably most of you have heard this book before. It's so beautiful. But it illustrates this point well of the things that divide us, and how we're probably far more alike than we are different, regardless of our skin color. And how we can start to bring some of those fences down that do divide us. That summer, the fence that stretched through our town seemed bigger. We lived in a yellow house on one side of it, and white people lived on the other. Mama said, "Do not climb over that fence when you play." She said it wasn't safe. That summer, there was a girl who wore a pink sweater. Each morning she climbed up on the fence and stared over the side. Sometimes I stared back. She never sat on that fence with anyone, that girl didn't. Once, when we were jumping rope, she asked if she could play, and my friend Sandra said no without even asking the rest of us. I don't know what I would have said. Maybe yes, maybe no. That summer, everyone and everything on the other side of that fence seemed far away. When I asked my mama why, she said, because that's the way things have always been. Sometimes when me and Mama went into town, I saw that girl with her mama. She looked sad sometimes, that girl did. Don't stare, my mama said. It's not polite. It rained a lot that summer, and on rainy days, that girl sat on the fence in a raincoat. She let herself get all wet and acted like she didn't even care. Sometimes I saw her dancing around in puddles, splashing and laughing. Mama wouldn't let me go out in the rain. That's why I brought you rainy day toys, she said. You stay inside here where it's warm and safe and dry. But every time it rained, I looked for that girl, and I always found her somewhere out near the fence. Someplace in the middle of the summer, the rain finally stopped. When I walked outside, the grass was damp and the sun was already high up in the sky. I stood there with my hands up in the air, and I felt brave that day. I felt free. I got close to the fence, and that girl asked my name. Clover, I said. My name's Annie, she said. Annie Paul. I live over yonder, by where you see the laundry. That's my blouse hanging on the line. She smiled then. She had a pretty smile. And then I smiled. We stood there looking at each other, smiling. It's nice up on this fence, Annie said. You can see all over. I ran my hand along the fence. I reached up and touched it. A fence like this was made for sitting on, Annie said. And she looked at me kind of sideways. My mama says I shouldn't go on the other side, I says. My mama says the same thing, but she never said nothing about sitting on it. Well, neither did mine, I said. That summer, me and Annie sat together on that fence, and when Sandra and them looked at me funny, I just made believe I didn't care. Some mornings my mama watched us. I waited for her to tell me to get down from that fence before I break my neck or something, but she never did. I see you made a new friend, she said. I nodded and Mama smiled. That summer, me and Annie sat on that fence and watched the world all around us. One day, Sandra and them were jumping rope near the fence, and we asked if we could play. I don't care, said Sandra. And when we jumped, Sandra and me were partners, just the way it used to be. When we were too tired to jump anymore, we sat up on the fence, all of us in a long line. Someday, somebody's going to come along and knock this old fence down, Annie said. And I nodded. Yeah, I said, someday. I love that book so much. I think it does such a beautiful job of kind of looking at the truth that we are far more alike than we are different, and finding those commonalities can be the very best way to heal some of the hurt and heartache that has happened because of racism. I have a little illustration that I so wish I could be doing with you, but I think it sort of clarifies the point that there's far more overlap between us than what divides us. As usual, it's not totally dry, so it's dripping a little bit. But I painted a little Venn diagram with one color for the self, for me, and the other color for those people who are different from us. And what I love about this is the way the colors overlap in the middle and create their own color. And really, it's a more beautiful color than either of the colors are separately. So in this situation, the pink and the blue make kind of this marbled purplish color that is so much more beautiful when it's integrated. So just something to consider. I would love it if you could all come up with someone in your life who is your other. Maybe it's a neighbor that you don't know yet. Maybe it's a friend in your classroom from school this year that you didn't get along with very well. Just to come up with some ideas about yourself, some ideas about that other person, and then the common things that you share with them. Maybe you and this other person are actually of different races. Maybe you are Vietnamese and this person is white. Maybe you are white and this person is Hispanic. It doesn't matter. The race doesn't matter, except that I want you to look at the things that are different between you and then to compare or to draw that similarities, the ways that you're the same as well. You might need an adult to help you do this activity, but I do hope that you'll at least think about it. What is it that we have in common with other people, regardless of our skin color, regardless of our gender, regardless of our age? We know there's lots of things that divide us, but what do we share in common? Because this is that way that we start to heal some of those differences and the heartache that's caused by some of the awful racism happening in our country right now. So I hope that gives you something to consider, and again, I really hope that's an activity that you might do with your parent or adult in your home. As ever, I'm holding you in my heart, sending you lots of love, and hoping that we can all really work toward finding our common ground and finding that peace and connection between us to help heal some of the heartache that a lot of us, maybe all of us, are feeling right now. Thank you.